Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Sare Liz, or as some know me, Mother Sare, and I've got a sermon for you today. The quality is a bit different than this intro because it was recorded during a worship service. These are audio-only recordings because that's what's manageable at this time. For more details concerning when, where, and what bits of the Bible were being preached on, look to the description below this video. I hope you enjoy the message. Here we go!
Given that the readings are all about faith, the gospel reading might seem kind of strangely inserted in there because it doesn't seem to be about faith. It seems to be about action and readiness and preparedness. And even though, as we read it, it's just in 2 paragraphs and, we all learned in English composition that a paragraph means you've got like one thought going on. But English composition did not cover ancient languages and ancient grammar. So even though there's only 2 paragraphs, there are more than 2 thoughts going on in this gospel reading. In fact, there are several really short sayings that are kind of related, but they are glumped together in a way that's not always helpful. But the reason that these readings were connected with the other readings about having faith, and even the psalm is all about, you got to have faith in God alone, not in like the might of horses, which we could translate that into the might of tanks, because horses were meant to be, a stand-in for military might, because not everybody had horses back then, and so if you did, you could probably conquer. So the reason that this gospel is connected with faith is for the same reason that people who are hesitant and critical of religion point at faith as the major downfall of society. Because any idiot can have faith. Simpletons can believe in faith and be bamboozled. Con men ply their trade on convincing people to have faith in them. And then they swindle them. And Jesus' comments are all about, yes, you do need to have faith, and you also need to do things. You also need to prepare. And this reminds me of car ownership. Now, I don't know if this is part of your history, but in my past, I have at one point had a series of junker cars, each one more decrepit than the last. At one point, one of their wheels nearly fell off. It was crazy. So there was at least 1 or 2 times in my young life where I got in the car and I put the key in the ignition, and it was pure faith that gave me any expectation or hope that I'd be able to make the car start and get to my destination safely. Now, it's not because I'm a silly person and I didn't put gas in the car. It's not because I didn't do the regular maintenance any car's supposed to have, oil changes, making sure the tires are where they're supposed to be, and, with enough air pressure. But sometimes cars get to that point in their life where you just never know if this month is going to be the last month. You just never know if it could make a long road trip or not. And sometimes, if we're prudent and we have the resources, we think, okay, we're going to take this road trip, but we're not taking that car. We're going to take the younger car, the safer car, the car with maybe better gas mileage, the car that can fit all of our gear. But sometimes if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the assurance, you just have to keep going, because you still have to get to your job. You still have to buy groceries. You still have to pick up the kids. You still have things you must do. And so you get in the car and you turn the key in the ignition, and maybe there's a little prayer in the back of your mind, please make it start. Please let it start. Please let this be an easy morning with the car. Jesus' readings remind us that we can have faith in the car, but we still need to fill it with gas. We can have faith in the car, but when it stops working so reliably, maybe it's time to start saving for a new one. We can have faith in the car, but if it hasn't worked for 3 mornings in a row, then maybe we better have a plan B. Because the earlier readings are all about, no, you just have to have faith in God. You can't think about anything else. You can't focus on anything else. You can't rely on anything else. You must rely entirely on God. And Jesus said, if you don't put gas in that car, do not expect it to go. If you don't regularly change the oil, do not expect the engine to keep carrying you where you need to go. That's what Jesus is saying when he's talking about the slaves that need to be ready for their master to return. Because that's not a phrase that really works for us, because we don't really have slaves, and we don't really have masters, and we don't imagine that we have servants that will be so amazingly prepared that when we come home unexpectedly at 3 a.m. without calling, without texting, without sending a telegram, nothing, that they will be awake at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, waiting to wash our feet. That's just not part of how we think about life. But to his audience, that would have been as reasonable as saying, you do have to fill the tank with gas. Like, that's normal. You do have to continue to scrape off the bug splatter from the windscreen because nobody else is going to do it. Or you have to Shanghai someone else into doing it because it will calcify there. You do have to do just 1 or 2 small things to make sure that you can live this life of faith. And so where that meets our own lives in our day-to-day practice is that faith in God is a good and beautiful thing. Faith in God is sometimes the thing that lets me get up in the morning when nothing else will, not even the promise of perfectly made coffee waiting for me. Faith in God may be the thing that gets us through some really tough times. But Jesus would tell us that don't have so much faith in God that you stop taking care of yourself. Don't have so much faith in God that you stop being kind to the people around you. And trust that, well, I have faith in God, so he will mend all of my relationships that I am trampling on with joy. No. Don't have so much faith in God that you stop participating in your own life. And on that happy note, amen.
Hey friends, thanks for listening. Sometimes a sermon can lift us up, and sometimes it can leave us thinking. And sometimes we can walk away seriously challenged. This is totally normal, and you're not alone. We're supposed to be comforted and challenged by God in turns. And today may be your turn. See you next time.